everyone, welcome to my channel. Let's jump into this look. So I start off with priming my eyelid, and for that I use the E.L.F 16-hour Camo Concealer in the shade Tan Latte, but if you have a primer, you can definitely use that instead. Next, to set the concealer in its place, I use the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Pressed Powder in the shade 334 Warm Sun. Now for eyeshadow, for the most part, I use this Makeup Revolution Shook eyeshadow palette, but the shades that I used are pretty basic, so you can find them in other palettes. To start off, I chose the shade Idealistic. It's pretty close to my skin tone, and using a blending brush, I just apply that above my crease as a transition shade. Next, I chose the shade Trouble. It's a very bright pink shade, and I also applied that above my crease, but just slightly lower than I did the previous shade. Now the next shade that I went into was Lust, and I used the same crease shader brush that I just used for Trouble, but I applied the shade onto the outer V of my eye, and as you can see, there's not much of a difference between the two shades. And you may be thinking, well, it's because you're using the same brush, so I swatched the shades because I wanted to show you how similar they were. So these are 3 different shades that I used. We have Trouble, Lust, and Repost, which I'll be using next, and honestly, they look so similar, but when you see it in the pan, I feel like you can actually see a difference versus when you swatch and use them, not so much. So again, the next shade that I used is Repost, and I applied it with my finger. So I applied it from the inner corner to the middle of my eyelid, and then I just used a smudging brush to blend it out. Here I also went back in with a little bit of the shade Trouble on a blending brush and just blended out the outer edges of the eyeshadow to soften it up. Now I wanted to add a little bit of dimension to the look because it was looking very flat, so I went into my Covergirl Trunaked eyeshadow palette in Chocoholic, and I chose the shade on the far right. It does have some shimmer in it, but it's very subtle, so I applied this to my outer and inner V and a little bit to my crease as well. Moving on to my lower lid, I just applied the shade Trouble on the inner half of my eyelid and the shade Lust on the outer half of the lid. Then I went ahead and applied eyeliner. I used the YSL Shocking Fall Slash Effect eyeliner, and yes, I'm saying it in English so I don't butcher the French language, which would happen despite me having studied French until the 9th grade here in Canada. Anyways, I don't know why, but I was struggling with my eyeliner on this day, so mistakes were made. I tried to wipe it and scratch it off with my fingers, but I definitely was tugging at my skin, so I don't recommend that. Your best bet is to use some concealer, which I did use a little bit later to just clean it up. The next thing I did is go back into the Makeup Revolution palette, and this time I chose the shade Adored. It's a really pretty sparkly gold shade, and I just took it on a rounded liner brush and applied it to the inner third of my bottom lash line. After that, I also curled my lashes before putting on mascara, and for mascara, I used the Covergirl Lash Blast Waterproof Mascara. Now I got quite a bit of mascara on my eyelid, but I just waited a few minutes for it to dry and then scratched it off using a clean old mascara wand, and for the most part it flaked right off. There was a slight residual stain, and to cover that up I just used a blending brush and brushed over it. Next up is brows, and this is nothing new. If you've watched my other videos, I use the Annabelle eyebrow pencil in the shade medium brown, and I almost feel silly putting this part in all my videos, but I figured there's gonna be people that may only watch one video and not be subscribers, so why not? Speaking of, if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. It's free. It takes a second and it would make me very happy. So, why not? Or even just, like the video if you're enjoying it. That would also help me out a ton. Anyways, back to the tutorial. Now, I just wanted a little bit more sparkle, so I used this liquid glitter eyeliner duo. It was a Karl, Lagerfeld, and Modelco collaboration, so it is discontinued, but I just used the right side, which is basically just gold glitter, and I applied it right on top of where I applied the shade Adored. So that's it for the eyes. Now I'm moving on to the face, and I started with some minor color correcting. I have a lot of hyperpigmentation around my mouth and under my eyes, so I'm using an orangish corrector to offset the darkness. Then I'm going in with the concealer. I'm using a different one than I used in the beginning, and this is the Covergirl Trublend Undercover Concealer in the shade Warm Honey, and I like to apply it under my eyes and on my cheekbones to highlight that area. For foundation, I then used the Maybelline Fit Me foundation in the shade 330 Toffee, and I applied it all over my face except for where I applied the concealer. And like my eyebrows, my base is pretty much always the same, and the reason for that is these are products that I genuinely love, so I use them on an everyday basis, and I just love showcasing good quality, affordable drugstore makeup. Okay, so speaking of affordable, for contouring, I use this L'Oreal Infallible Shaping Stick Foundation in the shade 420 Chestnut, and this is nearly $20, and to me, that is kind of expensive, especially considering my actual foundation is only like $9, so comparatively, it is on the more expensive side. So as an FYI, you can actually find this on Amazon Canada for like $11.60 or so. And even at Shoppers Drug Mart, I've seen it heavily discounted before. So if you are interested in trying it out, just see if you can get it on sale, because you probably can. Once I was done contouring, to set my foundation, I used the same Maybelline pressed powder I used in the beginning of the video. And then to set my contour, I used the MAC Studio Water Weight Pressed Powder in the shade Dark Deep, but I just used the darker side on the bottom. And as you can see, my brush is actually broken. The handle came off, so just ignore that. And then for blush, I actually used two of them. So the first one is by Wet n Wild. It's the Color Icon blush in the shade Mellow Wine. On top of that, I went in with the NYX Sweet Cheeks blush in the shade Totally Chill. And once I added this blush on top, I think it was the perfect combo for this eye look. But also, if you're doing a look like this where you're using these pink tones for your eyeshadow, you can just use the same eyeshadow as your blush as well. Okay, so now for the lips. As you can see, I'm lining my lips, and normally now I'd insert a picture of the product I'm using, but I went online looking for an image and I couldn't find any evidence of it existing. Like none whatsoever, no record of it, not one swatch or anything. So that's how you know this product is probably really old. It's an Annabelle, sorry, just ignore my cat. It's an Annabelle lip liner in the shade Mochaccino. Clearly it's discontinued, but it's so beautiful and it has a really nice metallic sheen, which I really like. So if you guys know anything similar to it, please let me know in the comments below, because I'm gonna be super bummed when this one finishes. Next, I also went in with this Maybelline Color Sensational lipstick in the shade 275 Crazy for Coffee. And as the final step for this look, I topped off the lips with some clear lip gloss. So this is the final look, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.